games, but we'll see if they can make this match look close. CLG, I think one of the best 2 and 3 teams in the history of North America, defending champions, off to a rough start, but maybe it's been turned around. Sway and banned away, the Karma off the table as well. Hakuho has been good at that one, as has Ninja actually. Uhi not being allowed his Azir. And we'll see what the next ban is for Envy.
And everyone is still expecting CLG to turn it around. No one was saying the sky is falling when CLG opened up the first 2 weeks with a 1-3 record. They will adapt, and people are expecting them as back-to-back defending champs in splits, but it'll be really interesting to see how they go in this pick and ban phase, whether they continue to try and do the stuff they did yesterday, and they won't be able to because the Jax is banned.
Not exactly. So Jax, yes, off the table, and we have seen good matchups into Aurelia as well, so Darshan may be running out of great top lane fighter carries to play. No Vladimir allowed for Sarah for Ninja as CLG go through their final bans. It does leave all the junglers up, so Kindred and Rek'Sai and Nidalee we're likely to see here.
Yeah, and CLG seems to continually orchestrate ways to get Xmithie Kindred, which I feel like he is just a beast on. And they're also putting themselves in positions where they're able to get it. As a blue side team, a lot of times you would leave Vladimir unbanned because you're going to force the ban, since that really seems like the super S tier on this patch for a lot of teams. But now, as we see, a lot of stuff is up, and they actually don't pick Kindred, they go with Ryze.
Ryze, one of Huhi's very best champions, absolutely had good performances on it back at the Mid-Season Invitational, and certainly a good champion here. And the very few times that Ryze gets through, he's actually only 2 and 3 here in North America, but still a very powerful champion. We've seen Seraph play it as well. He did that yesterday in the Immortal series and had a good game on it, so it's a bit of a denial as well.
I think Ryze is such an interesting champion here because you can see that he's banned in nearly 80% of the games. But then when he gets through, he's only picked half the time. Right? So teams have like this huge fear of Ryze, and some teams just see him as this champion you can't let the other team have. But a lot of times if he falls through, they don't even pick him. So I'm actually very interested that CLG did first pick that. And then also that Envy hasn't picked Kindred. I think that's what Xmithie is going to go for.
Yeah, it seems very likely. It's always fun seeing the various tier lists of what junglers believe to be the best. It's one of the nice things about a new split is, honestly, you just have different priorities and what you think is good. Sometimes you first pick Rek'Sai, sometimes it's Nidalee, sometimes it's Kindred, sometimes you're happy to get to kind of let all 3 through and counter pick it. But you're right, Xmithie's Kindred definitely very strong. Zyra, another champion that we see sometimes considered to be the best support, sometimes left alone entirely.
Definitely very strong in the laning phase. And has a huge amount of team fight damage if the other team wants to run at you, which I think is going to be difficult for either Huhi or Darshan, whoever actually ends up playing the Ryze, because the Trundle pick can flex around and you can still see a lot of different lanes.
Yep.
Just because, like this new Ryze especially, if we think about the whole lineage of the way Ryze has worked, he used to be able to build very tanky, you know, Frozen Heart and just a bunch of mana items. But now, even though he does have a lot of shielding, he's definitely not a tank when he runs at you, and he's very susceptible to CC. There's a lot of CC you can get trapped up in if you're trying to run at Zyra, so it's going to be really tough for Huhi.
It is a lot of mid-range champions, both Ryze and Trundle actually, a bit low mobility on the scale, and yeah, Zyra likes kind of fighting against both those types, so Darshan should look good on his side lane. I kind of am assuming it's going to him in the top lane regardless, Afro not exactly a prolific Trundle player. And look, now there's a Nivea being hovered and locked in. Like, look how kitey Envy is. They still need a tank from their, I guess, top lane, which Seraph, of course, is willing to play, but good luck getting on these guys with a Trundle and a Ryze.
Yeah, that's a very solid 4-man squad if you're looking to pull off a 4-1 and not be engaged on by the other main squad. A lot of poke they can throw out, and we're seeing a lot of Anivia play lately, it feels like, whether it was against the Vladimir or it's good into the Ryze.
I definitely agree. Again, kind of lower mobility champions there, and a quick hover on the Hook champions. We had seen GBM play Anivia 4 times in a row. Sadly, only pulled up 1 win doing that, and Ninja kind of following suit.
I mean, I know they're just hovering their favorite champions, but the Blitzcrank wouldn't be awful here. It's not really to Ezreal, but being able to hook the Anivia, the Nidalee, or the Zyra is really huge. Blitzcrank is actually good against teams that run a lot of squishies and no tanks. Instead, though, I think they're just going to try and match the poke with a Soraka.
And maybe a Tristana as well. So, no, switching. Ooh.
Whoa.
Okay, Vayne, then Caitlyn, and then that's going to be locked in. So, Caitlyn, Soraka, the bottom lane here for CLG, which means their only real frontliner is this Trundle. They can funnel it heals with Soraka, but all of that is kind of counterable with Grievous Wounds in some way. It's a very healing base as far as their tank stats go.
Yeah, a lot of times when we look at CLG team compositions, we do kind of have to divorce ourselves from the normal line of thinking and think, okay, what is CLG going to do with these champions? Because even though their team fighting is very mid-range focused with the Rise and the Trundle, the Kindred, and you're worrying about how they're going to get in on the Anivia and the Zyra, well, no. This is actually a team where Darshan is going to be trying to split push because very few things can be Trundle in a 1v1, and they're going to try and pull off double TP flanks with their solo laners while the Caitlyn and Soraka clear out the mid lane. That is basically CLG's 1-3-1 plan with the Rise and the Trundle. The question will be, how is Envy going to try and shut that down?
They're going to try to shut down with Lissandra, it looks like. There is the final pick in for their top laner, Seraph. And that's the hope that he can handle the Trundle matchup. I don't feel like he's going to get all that much damage, but you can certainly kite that Trundle out. And as much as I know Pobalter said in an interview, it was sort of weird that they had picked a Lissandra alongside the sort of kite back team. At the time, it was like Jinx Azir, this one's Anivia Ezreal. I do actually like the fact that Lissandra can play disengage using your ultimate, but also sometimes you just want to be able to have a chance to go in. And having some go button, I think, is worthwhile in the game on a coordinated team like this. So Envy, have an engage tool.
Yeah, and it's going to be in Seraph's hands, who's usually a really good decision maker. I think it's going to be tough for him to go up against Darshan. It's also going to be tough for him to find the right initiations against both the Kindred and a Soraka. We're talking about a burst champion who has relatively telegraphed engages, which can both be stopped by either Xmithy ulting the ground or Soraka just putting a silence field on top of the clock.
Right.
So Seraph's going to have a really hard time. I don't fault the pick, but it's going to be an interesting game.
It will be interesting, and it will be a difficult one for either side, honestly. League is always hard. We've got really good teams here, so we're going to be tracking you guys at home for who you think is going to be winning game one of the series. Go on Twitter, let us know who it's going to be. Hashtag CLG win, hashtag NV win for which squad is going to take game one here in this best of three. But we are here with Envy right behind first place. Only a couple of losses, only one match actually in the rulebook here for themselves, and CLG off to a slow start. But you win a game like this, you start telling the world you guys are back and ready to take some names. So here we go into game one, Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Envy.
Yeah, and I think a statement game for both of these teams is where, after this series, going to be officially 1/3 of the way through the summer split regular season, CLG would be able to say they're back and ready for business, whereas Envy can kind of prove themselves to be competing for one of the top teams in North America.
They've at least shown that they're very close to that caliber already, especially with how close even their loss has been. Let me get everyone to kind of scatter around the map so far. An early plant. Hako with a fortunate placement of the passive. And it zones out Afro for a few seconds. Doesn't want to give away a bunch of gold. Standard battle lines. Darshan, I believe, was spotted. And Afro gave away some gold.
Oh,
Plus
no.
8 to Hakuho.
All the money. Interesting. We see an Ignite on Hakuho, hoping to maybe get a pick. COD going for some lane swap boards, actually.
Yeah,
Would be a fun little lane swap battle to watch Seraph against Darshan. Whoa.
Chunk.
Somebody's got a recall.
Yeah, that's actually bad in almost all cases here for Darshan. He's chugging through his corrupting potion, and he will in fact recall to refill that as well as his health bar. He will be a bit late to a jungle start. He won't be too late to a lane.
Exactly. It would hurt him from basically being able to help out Xmithy in the early jungle, but with the way this setup is going, it's not going to matter too much. This is actually kind of curious here.
I think Envy gets more, though, because CLG is going to leash for Xmithy,
They definitely do.
whereas Envy gets Krugs and Gromp together.
Yeah, Envy definitely with the more efficient start. They can kill 2 camps at once, whereas CLG is just killing 1, and due to the harass that Darshan took, CLG was not able to go in and get any meaningful jungle harass early. What will be interesting, though, is this super late invade. CLG is actually going to push him off of red buff, maybe even go for a kill. Let's see.
Well, they're going to try. He ate a trap, actually. Now Proxen low on health, gets exhausted as well. Darshan not going to do much more. Exhaust used up by Afro, which honestly is going to come back from cooldown eventually anyway. It's a lane swap game. He won't use the cooldown.
Exactly. So it was in hope of drawing the flash, but Darshan didn't want to flash since his Trundle is going to be in some lane swap situations where he will need it to escape a dive, or at least need to have the threat of it to escape a dive. But that is kind of how CLG is trying to catch up. They're heavily delaying Proxen's jungle start. He actually ran all the way across the map to go into the enemy red buff, and now they're kind of trading jungles.
Yeah, they are, but at the very least, Smithy got to take 2 camps down for himself. The Gromp, his own blue buff, and then move over. And we're seeing kind of a similar situation now as the rest of the map evolves. CLG, looks like they're not actually trying to push this down too terribly fast. They're using auto attacks on the minions still. So that'll go down eventually, but it'll be a wave later than you could have rushed it. Red buff goes over, nothing too shocking here. Storm Raiders surge for Huhi. The movement speed will be nice for him. Otherwise, par for the course basically everywhere.
Smithy a little unlucky with his first mark of the Kindred spawn.
Oh, yeah.
It is the opposite Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, 1 and 3 for it to be down there. You notice they actually left the Raptor camp up for that to be a possible spawn, but they sadly lost the 2 and 3 that would be up on that side of the map.
Yeah, Smithy had a game, I believe it was in week 2, where he just became insanely fed on Kindred. He had 6 marks before the 15-minute mark, because pretty much every time it would mark a champion, he would get the kill. Not the fastest start this time, though, as Proxen denies him his first.
Yep, but we'll see if it happens again next time. That Raptor camp, I believe, is still up right now, so once that despawns and it marks again, we'll see if he gets anything a bit better for himself. Checking the mid lane matchup, who he should be able to equalize the farm. Oh, his Q hit the back minion instead. Sad face.
Has a nice bounce there to get the last hit on the melee minion at least, but that's definitely going to be a low action lane, at least early. Anivia, when Ninja gets level 6, is going to be able to shove in fairly easily. I think that lane's more about whether or not Ninja can consistently keep Huhi in turret, because if he can't, then Huhi has the ability to teleport in to swing lanes. Ninja has the teleport as well, but Anivia is not exactly the same teleport presence.
Totally agree. First recall comes through for Ninja, actually going towards Catalyst, not building up a tier himself. Huhi's going to have a safe recall and walk back for his second round of items. Actually got the tier earlier, and now has boots in a pink ward to keep himself safe from Nidalee ganks on round 2 of the lane swap. Smithy with a nice deep ward to help track as they push down this bottom tier 2.
Yeah, I think CLG has a more vision and more choice in the way these lane swaps are working. So, like, they're taking risks, and we saw it when Darshan got pushed back that you'd think would set CLG back in the early lane swap, but they're continually getting the vision, so they're at least in control of it. And I do want to speak about Huhi's mid lane style a little bit as well. He very often goes for first recall. Like, he really wants to either get a second Doran's item or a tier super early, and he's actually willing to give up some early CS just in order to hit items a little bit faster and maybe get an advantage that way.
Yeah, Huhi really enjoys that sort of style. It kind of speaks to the fact that Echo and Aurelion Sol are like his 2 favorite champions, because they have ways of cheating back to lane faster than most others without using teleport.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely a fun style, definitely works for him so far. We're seeing the traditional sort of trade tier 1s as round 2 of the lane swap comes through, and it's honestly been a very mirrored game so far in this one.
Yeah. I love the fact that we can now watch both lane swaps while watching the mid lane. We're basically watching the entire game all at once. But yeah, as you see, bounce done down in the bottom side for Darshan, and the top side will bounce a little bit back to Seraph as well. Interesting to see whether they decide to shove or not, since we have kind of traded back and forth, and it'll be a big point of pressure versus farm depending on how these lanes swap.
Yeah. And kind of Logic Gaming, I know, is a team that has always prioritized the farm really heavily in this lane swap. I think back to the series against Apex, where Apex went for the early Drake as well as the early Rift Herald, and that got Darshan like plus 30 minions as a result. In both these cases, the players could have gone for that Cloud Drake here on the bottom of the map, and neither one prioritized it as important. They both had their turn to go for it. When their dual lanes were down, they're knocking down the opposing turret unopposed, and that just stays up right now.
Interesting how much respect Stixxay is giving the Health Crystal level 3 Lissandra as a level 5 pickaxe Caitlyn, but he nets away from a claw.
Yep.
Technically, he didn't have vision of procs in the Nidalee, so he was probably fearful of a gank.
Yeah.
But that will be a very hard place for Seraph to get farm, actually, as is a hard place for Darshan to get farm.
As they all get pushed in, so we still have unmatched lanes right now, but Proxen is up on this side of the map, and he's 5 plus Seraph being 4. It's actually slightly higher level than Stixxay plus Afro, as they're 5 and 3. You may be seeing the chance to fight a 2v2 and that looking okay. Smithy walks by and sees the Raptors are gone, and actually is jumping over a ward, so he is well spotted. Look at the damage that Proxen does. Lands a full combo, but yeah, Challenging Smite comes across, and Smithy still wins the battle anyway.
Yeah, really clutch that Smithy actually decided to go Challenging Smite here. Very aggressive. A lot of times you'll want to go Tracker's Knife just if you're invading so much to get the wards, but even with the level disadvantage and the hunt being proc for Proxen, because the Challenging Smite hit, Proxen run away.
Stixxay didn't see this coming, though. Takes a root lot of damage, but Hakuho actually is on the wrong side of this one. Takes plenty of damage. He'll get sniped. No. Seraph is going to block it out successfully. But actually, from what was a nice root, turns out Smithy made that terrible for Hakuho.
Yeah, and this is super interesting, too, because we have an Ezra was trundled down on the bottom side, and then we have a 3v3 up in the top side.
Stixay's out of mana, and the teleport's coming across. It's Ninja wanting to be part of this one, and Huhi has 0 mana. That's first blood coming through already for Ninja and in the mid lane, and he's going to block off Aphromoo. Beautifully played. He's got nowhere to go. Who's going to get the kill? They're going to donate it over to the Nidalee, actually. Proxen lands the last auto attack, 2-0 to Envy.
Yeah, great collapse there by Envy, and it's honestly just the what is the better teleport presence, the Sandra or the Trundle? Because there was also, I'm trying to get my words right here, but basically Envy had a better teleport play to join that thing, and it's surprising too because I'm looking at the bottom lane. It's Trundle versus Ezreal, so technically Trundle should have been able to teleport in, and Ezreal couldn't match, so CLG should be able to get a numbers advantage, but Envy pulls the trigger on the play so much more quickly with the double teleport.
Ooh.
And then
Hakuho gets caught warding.
That didn't even take a teleport. Hakuho actually gives a lot. From the other stream in, that series has concluded, so you're stuck with Freak and I for the rest of the day.
You're welcome.
Normally, the Battle Theater wins the race of who can finish first. Definitely not today.
No.
We have had the best games in this theater by far. Cloud9 and Apex went the distance.
Yep.
This one, I hope to have the same happen.
We've got the best games here, okay? This is how it works. Stixay clearing away everything that he possibly can. And we'll see just what happens. Envy are sitting on a 500 gold lead thanks to the early kills that came through. He was missing his teleport, he was missing a mana bar, and Darshan didn't want to give up the 3 waves of minions that Loud was pushing into the turret. So you're right, Chad, that he could have teleported, and it just didn't seem to be worth the cost.
Yeah, you speak about how much Darshan is prioritizing the farm, because if we think about the way CLG wants to play, they need to be able to pull off the double TP plays, but they also need to have a lot of pressure in the side lanes. And the fact that Darshan could get an early Spectre's Cal, when you're considering the people that Envy would be putting against him that can match teleport, if he gets early MR and a bit of damage on Trundle, there's going to be no one who can actually match him. So it's very important that he gets that, and I can understand why he did not teleport.
And even with the kill that Seraph has, thanks to his involvement in the prior fight, the gold is actually nearly identical between those two top laners. See, sometimes farm does pay itself back. Nice javelin and a root on Smithy and Aphromoo.
Proxen has been landing a lot of spears, and another byproduct of the multiple kills that Envy picked up in the top side there is Smithy got pretty punished farm-wise against Proxen. It had been pretty close up until that point.
Oh, Seraph is in the worst possible situation. Is able to ult himself, but he's still quite injured. Does manage to flash away. That silence from Aphro definitely meant a lot, and it's major cooldowns that I'm missing from Seraph.
Yeah, so he has to burn everything, and CLG again looking to aggress. This time, and he can't match with teleports.
Look at the damage, but his flash didn't get him out of range, and the snipe still came through, was not blocked away by Proxen, and that is a kill off on a Seraph, now missing every possible cooldown he could have wanted.
They did clear the minions, though. They're actually pretty low right now.
Yeah, they're
stuck. Might have to ultimate if they get another spear through.
Waves here in 2 seconds, does put the Kindred ulti down. Here comes the assassination.
Oh,
Aphro walked out too soon. He could have survived the situation. Now Proxen will actually get one back, and he's not done just yet. Finally does get dropped, and now Stixay a few hits away from dead. Ninja is here, and that will be a wall. That will be the slice, and he goes down 5-3 in kills. A very interesting game, but CLG lost 3-2 in that.
A little ambitious, and it's telling that all 5 of CLG's deaths are in pretty much the same zone of the map. They're trying so hard to push in that inner turret in the top side, and it's just failed twice in a row right now. So yes, they get the trap into the Soraka silence in the big chain, but they can't completely burst him out. Seraph gets a bit of a self-heal and then can flash away. So this is now the continuation of the play. The Ezreal ult only clips 1 minion, but it's interesting how these minions get cleared. Notice how Seraph used his Q there before falling. He can't claw away, thought Proxen was going to be able to tank it, but at this point, Stixay and Smithy go in to help Darshan and Aphro because they're stuck between the turret, but the minions are so far away. So Proxen and Hakuho are really smart to stick around here and just land as much poke as possible because they know CLG has no way out. Therefore, we understand the decision-making. Smithy does a self-ult, but Aphro goes too far to the outside, lets Proxen execute him, doesn't get the heal, and then since Proxen chases back into the turret's still going to hit him back, so more people on CLG die on the way out, and because that die was 20 to 30 seconds long, it's very easy for Ninja to walk back up, and really, that is good responsive play by Envy and over-aggression by CLG.
And there were ways they could have gotten away with that really cleanly, honestly, and just didn't happen. Now look at this, more damage onto Smithy, who does not have his ulti available, but smites Proxen and runs away, and they're going to be all right with this one. Okay, nothing picked off for that. But I think back to that tower dive, Smithy could just walk to the turret, Ult himself say, CLG, run away. Just run to the left, you're safe completely, I'll die for you. And instead they lost 3 when they could have lost 1 and just taken the loss.
Very true. I think they were probably trying to stick around, wait for the minion wave, and then finish the turret, but
they thought they could, and they were wrong. Cloud Drake picked up there, and Envy doing beautifully now. 1,300 gold in the lead. First Drake picked up as well, and now Ninja can flap his wings a little bit faster.
And really just that massive lead from Proxen over Xmithy. We talked up Xmithy's Kindred so much in the pregame, but he has 0 marks to the Kindred now, 13 minutes in. Is significantly behind Proxen in CS, and while, yes, he has picked up 2 kills, he's still at a 1,200 gold disadvantage to Proxen. And Proxen has been a part of 100% of Envy's kills. So really got to hand it to Proxen and Envy for being able to work around that.
Yeah, really nice stuff right here. Envy just looking quite good as a team, and you're going to see Ninja actually go for a lot of mana regeneration. I don't know if I've seen this build specifically very much, but it's Rod of Ages into what will be Morella Nomicon.
Huh.
The CDR is going to be nice, but also it's a way to apply grievous wounds in a team fight when you're against a Soraka and a Kindred and a Trundle who all want to do that kind of stuff. So I think it's a very smart build and really bright of Ninja to think about this.
I've seen a lot of different paths from Nibby, actually. I know when Faker played it earlier on in the split, he actually did the Roa, Seraphs, and a Morella Nomicon.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, 3 full mana items. But at the same time, Anivia has such high base damages, and those items still have good AP values when you're getting to late game, so it kind of just guaranteed power later on. The Morella Nomicon coming a little bit earlier, I think, is also good, and as long as they're able to control a little bit of blue buff, I don't think they'll need the tier item.
Okay, well, should be pretty good for Ninja then, as he continues to do quite nicely for himself. 1-0 into his scoreline. Look at that, the move by Lot and Proxen knocks down this bot lane tier 2 turret, and Envy winning by every measure you could kind of think about in this game.
Yeah, they're out playing the lane swap game against CLG. CLG's getting a little ambitious, Envy's been able to counter it, and now Envy is making proactive plays on their own. Think about how many times CLG tried to kill the secondary turret in the side lane. Envy does it on the first try as soon as they try to go aggressive. Yeah. Really big props to this Envy team, who is 4-1 to start the split and hoping to take down CLG.
Really nice, yeah, looking to make that a 5-1 run, which puts them at right near the top of the table. Only TSM would be doing better at that point. Darshanda looking for a fight against Seraph, whose claw is on cooldown, so a bit of a chance to make this play. Ults in, and look at how much slow there is. He's actually stuck against the turret, has to ult himself, and now Smithy coming around the backside. Seraph going to go for the teleport play.
Another pillar.
Pillar is enough for 13 seconds, and yes, he gets out.
That sneaky devil, Seraph. He's able, like, he was really caught in a bad place. It almost looked like he was resigning his fate a little bit, but no, Seraph wouldn't do that. He's stuck against the turret because the Trundle pillar and the turret completely blocked his retreat path, and then Trundle was on the other side, so it was like 3 points that were blocking him there. Smart of him to know that when the Trundle pillar was up and he'd self-healed a little bit, that was the most time he was going to be able to buy before teleporting to safety, and while it does cost him his teleport, it cost a lot of time for CLG as well. Xmithy was on the way, and they don't end up getting anything for it.
Ooh, and look at what Seraph just bought. I have not yet seen this item in competitive play. I know Azael loves it. The Hextech GLP 800 has been picked up for Seraph here.
Exactly. It is another burst item, essentially. The damage on it scales a little bit more aggressively than Ignite, and it's an AoE slow. So essentially when Lysandra jumps in, it's a Roa replacement because it builds out of Catalyst, is a little bit more expensive, and has pretty much the same ability power. But when you do go into burst, you get one more button to press. Plus, you can use it as a little bit of an extra wave clear, as we just saw there from Seraph.
Yeah, it will net end up down 20 AP and down 200 health. Same mana otherwise, a little bit more expensive, but yes, he has the active Ice Nova, which right now will do 192 damage, and it gets better from there.
Yeah, and it scales with AP as well. So it has a base damage, it scales throughout the game, and it also scales with AP. So when he does get the full item, it will be a slightly bigger burst than the Rod of Ages would be as well.
And we'll see what he can do with the item here. Seraph continues to walk down to the bottom side of the map, and he can, of course, just pop the active to help himself wave clear as well. We're watching Proxen right now just run through CLG's jungle completely rampant. He's got Lod to his left to make sure it's not completely dangerous, but just taking away wolves constantly. Darshan, yep, can't get the wolf.
Yeah, definitely have CLG on their back foot a little bit. Huhi trying to make a play on Seraph. Ninja matching.
Uh-oh, Huhi's now in a 1 versus 2, and Darshan isn't showing up in this one, so he is alone very much so. Goes for a bit of damage on Seraph, actually roots a minion instead, then walks into the stun, gets bursted down, and does get picked off. A nice kill there, and now Darshan, look at this, stuck under the turret. Javelin lands, a nice save by Xmithy to keep Darshan alive.
Ooh.
He's gonna, no, he's fine, he walked left. Ooh. But that, yeah, that could have been dangerous. True Shot Barrage had come down from Lod. Was not able to snipe it down quite. However, look at the damage on this turret. Envy, unstoppable right now. Lod being left to land the auto attacks. He's going to knock that one down. 4-2 in turret, 6-3 in kills.
Really keeping the pressure up as well and winning the sides of the map, as well as keeping good pressure on the mid lane from Ninja. Hui gets a little bit overambitious there, tries to solo out Seraph, knows he doesn't have a teleport, but Hui had absolutely no backup. Darshan was stuck trying to hold a wave, so he didn't have the ability to teleport in. And very unlike CLG, they fall behind in counting teleports. Like, that was kind of their big play in the playoffs, and when they were making their run at the end of last split, is they could control the map with teleports. But Hui runs in here, really goes for Seraph, but I mean, he's in the pink ward rush as well, so it's very easy for Ninja to match. They chain CC, Hui goes down, and then all the while, you think about the other side of the map, Darshan's 1v3ing, so it's like, where is the map pressure from CLG? They're completely behind on this. They haven't been able to get their waves going, and it's allowing Envy to make all these proactive plays.
Yeah, the CLG dual lane was heading down by the end of that, but Hu's already dead before they even got to the tri-brush. Hakuho actually snags the blue buff right there, so even more is being grabbed here by Team Envy. Really looking great through 3 weeks of North American LCS. And that is just honestly quite heartening.
Yeah, this game started very well for them. CLG over-aggression in the top lane, and since that point, Envy's just been getting real aggressive. And this is a really long con. Seraph teleports into the same pink ward that Ninja did, and they're going to use that to run down Darshan.
Yeah, Zyra and Anivia actually to the left as well. Darshan going to get run down. Lod gets the last hit, his first participation of the game. He'd normally just been knocking down turrets, but finally finds some champions to actually kill for himself. Counterlogic Gaming still not finding anything good on their side of the map.
Yeah.
Envy up 5,000.
And Envy has been playing too quickly for CLG to be able to set up their 1-3-1. As soon as they go and try and prep the waves, Darshan is top lane, or Darshan is bottom lane, Hui is top lane, they immediately pull the trigger, they get a kill onto one side, which means that Hui can no longer push safely.
Beautiful stuff. Absolutely amazing right now as Envy now looking to knock down an Ocean Drake for themselves. Gonna grab that one without any real contest either. Everything just looks so easy. That Ocean Drake took about as long to kill as Darshan did, and took about as many members. Everything's Envy's.
Yeah, this has been a really solid game one thus far, and I mean, now is actually the point where they're hitting some of their item power spikes. Not even before then. They've just been getting a lot of these wins based off of map play.
Right.
But the Iceborne and Muramana is completed onto Lod now. You compare that with Stixxay, who's still trying to build up towards Infinity Edge before he can really be all that relevant. 2 full items completed onto Ninja. Zonya's completed onto Seraph. Like, now is the time where Envy's going to be even more incentivized to make plays.
It all landed right there. Ninja able to actually force Stixxay to burn the net. Thankfully for him, he didn't have to flash to get away, but that could have certainly been dangerous. And this is, I'm gonna go back to selling Cloud Drake, by the way.
Yes, I am not laughing because Cloud Drake is weak. I think Cloud Drake is a great Drake.
But it's now the meme that we love Cloud Drake and no one else says, oh man, Stixxay, he's gonna live. Mid turret's gonna die pretty shortly. So I think back to 2010 when Big Fat LP was CLG's mid laner. And he would actually rush Boots of Swiftness and use movement speed quints on Anivia.
Oh,
Afro's so screwed. Has to flash away. He's going to live.
We might gotta fight here.
Yeah, we gotta fight here for ourselves. Darshan is getting ulted on, taking all the damage in the world, but he heals himself back up, and he's gonna survive. No, he's not. Ninja takes him down. Now on a killing spree himself. Hakuho quite low on the bottom side of the map. Smithy running forward, looking for Ninja, looking to turn Anivia back into an egg, but no, not just yet. There he finally gets pushed down, and the snipe comes out. Hakuho does drop, and it's an ulti in from Smithy to buy some time. A shutdown comes through the knockdown. Ninja Smithy does trade his life back. Lod getting a lot of damage down there, but Hui takes him out. Seraph's back into this one. Proxim rejoining the team, but now forces a kite backwards. Hui wants in. Stixxay again with the Hurricane, looking for the kill. The snipe onto Seraph, and he misses, can't quite land the damage, and it's CLG losing 2, Envy as well.
Still a huge fight for CLG because they were down about 6,000 gold before that fight, and it was a full-on 5v5 where CLG just over-executes because Afrim was able to stay alive and heal throughout the entire engagement. They actually get a counter push throughout of this one, so for all the talk we had about Envy and their ability to hit power spikes, CLG just kind of walks over that because they hadn't even gotten their big items, and they still win the fight.
Really nicely done. Darshan took enough damage that Stixxay and Hui weren't really able to be countered anymore, and those guys put out a lot of work during that fight.
Yeah, we're going to get to see this fight again shortly. Here it is. Darshan coming from the flank, and Seraph uses everything on Darshan but doesn't get the kill. That's very critical because he's able to get his ult off, and they do eventually get the kill, but on the tank, that means the rest of CLG is kind of free to do damage. Notice Smithy and Hui on the side of the fight. It looks like they do most of the work, and then Hakuho tanks the Caitlyn ult for the egg, probably not worth it because you really would have wanted him to be able to peel off Ruhuhi and Aphromoo. Xmithie got tremendous value out of his Kindred ultimate as well. And then Stixxay still had Flash at the very end of the fight, unable to pick up a kill, but the fight had already been won. Really interesting how CLG pulled that one out and are still very competitive in the game.
Yeah, honestly, with that big of a gold deficit, they're still down nearly 6, or now I guess it's 4,000 actually, but that was pretty reasonable. Xmithie finally got a mark for himself. That is his 3rd, I believe, if I read that tooltip properly. So, yeah, finally getting a little bit more into the game.
Please continue with your Cloud Drake analogy for Season 1.
So, Big Fat LP, when he played a lot of Anivia, ran Boots of Swiftness, Movement Speed Quince because of Movement Speed Delta.
And for people here, like, Big Fat LP was pretty much considered the best mid laner or in the world. Like, early on when we just had the NA server, like, he was the god at the time.
Yeah, so this was actually a super top tier player back in the day. Anyway, Movement Speed Delta is the most important thing about movement speed. If I'm 20 movement speed faster than you, I will catch up to you, and then I'll get a wall in front of you, cut you off, you lose the game. And Crystallize obviously can be a game-winning ability. The 15 movement speed, though it's not a ton, is 15 more move speed that he now has over Stixxay. Yes. Which, like, doubles how quickly he could catch up to him, or even now be able to catch up to him because this guy has a Hurricane, allowing him to get Crystallizes off that he would never have gotten ever otherwise.
Exactly, because people make these jokes that Cloud Drake with the 15 move speed, that makes you go from base to mid lane 0.9 seconds faster. So it doesn't seem significant, but when you look in patch note history and you look at champions who received a 5 move speed or 10 move speed nerf, those were devastating nerfs to those champions because even just in the laning patterns, if you haven't taken rest and you have the extra move speed, it allows you choice of when you can trade and when not to trade. For the same reason that move speed quints are used on many laners. Like Shen used to bring and still does oftentimes movement speed quints, so he has the ability to walk up to someone to land a taunt.
Right.
These are all the reasons that we like move speed, by the way. Not a meme. Cloud Drake is fine.
Agreed.
Statistically, and we just gave you a bunch of reasons, so fight me. I like Cloud Drake.
You're learning from my book. I use that line all the time. Thank you. And there's, you mentioned the silence field underneath the claw right there used by Aphromoo, but the dive doesn't even matter. Look how far back CLG had to run. Another turret picked up by Envy.
But guess what? If I had Cloud Drake, you wouldn't be able to fight me if you wanted, because I have the movement speed delta.
Don't you have a sprained ankle right now?
Yes, I do. I'm speaking in game.
I got you, man.
Anyway, this game is still very interesting. Sorry for the tangent. Envy, 3,000 gold up, able to push down mid lane. CLG has had their turrets absolutely destroyed, but what I think is interesting is they've actually been able to keep pace. Only one extra turret for Envy, and that is in the mid lane. So now that this is only a 3,000 gold game and both teams have double teleport, it's still about who can execute the double TP and lane swap game better.
Absolutely, and Envy's Drakes are non-combat, so once the battle is actually fought, it's just the gold leads here. And certainly can be played properly by Counterlogic Gaming to get themselves back into this one. Gold isn't far apart. Lanes get reset. They almost all went back and recalled. You're seeing Stixxay go towards an 80% crit chance build. He's also got himself Quicksilver Sash, which he can actually use to you know, get rid of a Lissandra ulti or even outplay a Frostbite and drop the double damage right before it lands. We're seeing Envy scale up quite nicely. Ruin can already down on Laud. Liandry's close for Hakuho at 750 to combine. He has that money now, so as soon as Hakuho recalls, he has a huge power spike. Yeah. The second Cloud Drake will not be answered at all by CLG, further increasing their ability to run around the map and be very fast.
This is going to be pretty critical, especially with Anivia. Taking away the slowness is one of the weaknesses, and being able to get in range to just land a nice wall going to be very important. Especially if they can start zoning out Aphromoo Soraka, but at this point, CLG is starting to get their side lanes going. So they're giving up the Drakes, but they are getting some wave control, and if they can transition some wards in there as well, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them make some double teleport plays. Drakes are obviously very worrying for CLG and definitely give Envy the advantage, but CLG is still in it.
One thing that CLG has to play for side lane control is Aphromoo going towards a Banner of Command. Except for Laud, all that damage is going to be magical, and Envy won't have good split push against a bannered up minion. Lissandra and Envy will take quite a long time to auto-attack those down, so there are lots of tools coming into CLG's inventory fairly soon.
Yeah, really like the banner. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind is, in a very rare turn of events, like there's not going to be an Aegis on Envy for anyone, because they're doing the Zyra support with the Nidalee jungle, so neither of those champions can build the Magic Resist aura.
little bit of a chunk onto Huhi there, who flashes forward to land the root and pop the egg, but now Seraph's in this fight, but so is Darshan. 2-on-2. Stun onto Huhi. He's going to survive the encounter, though. Ezel doesn't mean much of anything, but now Proxen, a new challenger, has arrived. Another 2-on-2 here, looking for the damage, and Huhi pops the Seraph's shield and stays alive a little bit longer, trying to cut away, does get shut down, but Seraph dangerously low, flash in by Darshan. Zonya's popping now. Here comes Hakuho, and he doesn't quite have the damage. Finally picked up now as Stixxay has joined the battle, and here comes the bot lane, the jungler as well. Lot is there, ulti popped in, and it's going to be Hakuho tanking the ulti to get Proxen away safely. 2 members lost from Envy. CLG only lose 1.
And that's the double TP play. That's what CLG lost out on earlier, but this time, Huhi's hit some more of his items. There's no magic resist on Ninja, so he's able to egg him before Seraph can come in. That way, when Darshan matched the teleport, even though he was actually a few seconds late, he just brings way more to it because it's a temporary 2v1. So CLG, even though the entire set of players on both teams ended up arriving, come out ahead on that one 2-for-1.
Yeah, Counterlogic Gaming always up a player because it was an egg sitting there being sad and defenseless. And that was Ninja going down for a second death of the game. We actually see Hakuho not rushing Leanders, which he's going Void Staff, I guess. I think that's a strange choice. I think Leanders is worth combining, but he had the option instead, bought another little 400 gold book to go towards Void.
I agree with that one. Ninja also with the Haunting guys, but here, nice timing by Huhi because he also waits for Ninja to use his ultimate on the minion wave, so Ninja doesn't have it for the fight, making it very easy for Huhi. And then Seraph, even though he locks down Huhi, just cannot stop Darshan from killing that Anivia egg. And then Proxen is here early as well, so like technically Envy was faster to the spot. It's just Huhi got such a jump onto Ninja's Anivia from hiding in that brush because they had the prior wave control, that when CLG does eventually arrive, it's enough to kind of overpower what Envy has.
Yeah, Stixxay trapped the Zonias and got an instant headshot, crit for 478.
Very nice.
Down goes Lysandra.
Stixxay also hit 3 big items, so the late game Caitlyn is starting to arrive. The rapid fire cannon Hurricane high percentage crit just gives such power to the headshots on Caitlyn. And
this is why I like Lysandra being in the game here on Envy, is you're at a point now where Stixxay will out-teamfight LoD reliably. 80% crit chance with the Hurricane bolts out there, a lot of range thanks to rapid fire cannon. You don't get to kill that champion without really getting on top of her, and even then Stixxay has QSS and a Soraka. So you need someone like Seraph to pop the ulti, then pop the root, and actually let the team kind of pile drive in. So Seraph finding that flank, I think, might be really crucial because Stixxay could hard carry team fights.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that one. Envy with the 3 Drakes will give them a little bit of an advantage, but as far as the actual in-team fighting Drakes, they haven't had an Infernal yet, and Ocean will be up as well. So like Envy has all the things that help them outside of fights, but if CLG can manipulate it so they are full health, full mana, and in a team fight, those Drakes won't matter.
Yep. You're seeing though, Seraph kite backwards using the claw, but now wants to go back on for Darshan, and there's just no one there to really catch him out here. The claw is down. I'm actually surprised Ninja completed the teleport. It's just a 4.5 minute cooldown wasted now, and he's going to actually instant recall back because Huhi was pushing the bot lane in.
Huhi gets very good wave pressure, sees the blue buff up, is going to be able to go and steal that one away. So CLG regaining control of a lot of this game. Envy had been beating CLG at very much CLG's game and what they had perfected throughout most of the spring split. But now I feel like we're seeing a little bit more of the experience come through. CLG picking the fights a little bit better, and even though Envy is still kind of making it to the fight, CLG they have those little tricks, like Huhi waiting in the brush after shoving the wave up, kind of baiting them into thinking they have a recall, and he does it again, baits another ultimate.
Seraph walks in, sees Huhi, then just goodbye! Instant deleted. Huhi didn't even lose health. Look at the health bar, it's entirely full, it's entirely blue. He's totally fine.
Fools him twice. He fools Ninja with the wait and see, and then he fools Seraph as well. The one-man bush camp strat from Huhi, but it's because CLG have such control of the waves. He's able to shove up the wave, he snuck into the jungle to take blue, and really, Envy didn't see him for 45 seconds. So Seraph just assumed he was gone, and because the waves have been so pushed in, Envy is very impatient about getting them back out again, because they need the waves to be able to make a play on the map, but they're just not cooperating. CLG is manipulating the waves better, and it's led to 2 solo kills essentially for Huhi.
Really beautiful stuff, and him getting that champion, the first pick for Counterlogic Gaming, seems to be working out for him. He's
now he gets the
turret.
turret.
A turret,
There's no one to
dropping as well. No one is there to stop him. There's still no one recalling because CLG are baiting around Baron in a 4v4 here.
Even if Seraph tries to stop him, though, he'd just been solo killed by the Rise, so they can't do it. CLG actually doesn't even need to do the Baron. They just need to keep a 4-man distraction, and they get a free inhibitor.
And look at that, the inhibitor still taking plenty of damage, down about 2 auto attacks from dead, and there it goes.
Wow.
Huhi has knocked down the bot lane by himself, but now Envy are in the mix. Ninja walks over, walls up the team. They start off Baron, but why? There's almost no chance
Huhi
to get in.
can always teleport in if this becomes a thing. Seraph, desperation engage.
He wants on Smithy, who's able to get his ulti off in time to not die. Afro cutting in the back lines, gets a big heal coming across, but now Huhi gets a flank, deletes Hakuho. Ninja on the wrong side of the fight. Darshan not really receiving any damage anymore. Cutting back and forth, Afro running away, but now he's on the wrong side of this one. He will not get picked up by
silence.
Seraph. The silence zone comes down. Ezel ticking by, still doesn't turn into any kills or anything. Almost tags Stick to it. He was also able to kite out. It's Smithy dead, and it's Hakuho dead. Now it's Seraph knocked down as well. Now it's also going to be Proxen. 2 for 1 so far in favor of CLG. Could that be 3? Not after a wall like that. They might be able to get away. Proxen kills off a ward. Lod fighting Huhi, getting rooted up and just deleted from the map. And Proxen jumps over the wall, still going to get dropped down, and more kills for counter logic.
If CLG finish this ace, they can actually win the game close to it. No, they're not going to side you, but they'd already had the down inhibitor. That was just a series of outplays by CLG to make that situation happen in the first place. So Envy tried to desperation engage, and then the fight was very chaotic, but Huhi had the right teleport position. He completely deleted Haku at the start of it, and now this will lead to not only the inhibitor, but also Baron.
It will be almost definitely the Baron. Hakuho wants to be involved in this fight. We've seen steals!
Oh,
and he gets it! Yes, he does! A Baron for Hakuho.
What is happening right now? That steal.
That's a game-saving steal.
It is absolutely a game-saving steal because it will allow them time to get control of their minion waves, most importantly, and it was the Strangle Thorns that end up getting it.
Yeah.
The damage expands throughout the time of the ultimate, and CLG just doesn't spend the time to zone the Zyra away, and he ends up stealing it.
So only Ninja and Hakuho are wearing the buff. It's only the 2 of them who had respawned in time. The gold's still good. In fact, Envy up 1,600 gold. They would have been down if not for that Baron, but you know they're up now because of it. And they have some waves they can keep pressure with now.
Absolutely. Unreal. The banner is completed for Aframu, which is super critical because that means either Seraph or Ninja are stuck in a wave, which means that Huhi can just kind of wait in a brush to kill them. Nice pass off of the red buff for Laud. He also had some amazing blue buff steals against Pro Belter yesterday.
Yeah.
Really been solid with his True Shot barrages.
True.
Yeah, so just to encapsulate this game, because it's been a little crazy, 35 minutes in, the first 8 minutes or so, Envy was winning by a lot. CLG did a bunch of overaggression in the top lane. Envy gets a bunch of kills, and then they actually were pushing the tempo like incredibly well, and at one point had about a 5,000 gold lead over CLG. But then CLG won that one fight in the mid lane, mainly because I feel like Seraph overbursted Darshan and allowed the damage dealers of CLG to get in, but there were a lot of different things that happened in that game, and since then, it's really just been the split push game from CLG and Envy not being able to match properly. Here, Envy takes so much damage from Baron, and Seraph flashes in to get an ultimate on Smithy, and they can't even burst him before Lamb's Respite comes through. The teleport then comes in from the side on Huhi. You can burst down Hakuho. And then at this point, it's just Darshan and Aframu doing their best to run around while Huhi can catch up. Love Aframu knowing how to play Soraka here, silencing on the claw so Seraph can't finish him and walking the other way. Stixxay barely jukes that out as the Ezreal ultimate comes through, and that allowed Huhi to pick up a couple of kills on the back side of the fight as well. And that eventually led to what we thought was going to be a CLG Baron, but it was not.
It was a Hakuho.
It was a Hakuho Baron. But they get Ninja.
And Ninja is caught out in his jungle. Walls him off, though. Is able to get away from him a little bit. Strangle Thorns buys time as well. Lado on the wrong side. He's got to run away, and he will do so safely. The egg will pop back up, and Huhi taking a bit of damage. Has
oh, the Hurricane!
Oh, the damage jump coming across. 2 picked up. Somehow Afro gets one of them. Proxen very injured back in his territory. The wall doesn't really cut off too much there, and it will be mid lane tier 2 going down. So Baron buff or not, CLG still biting back through a gold deficit. Darshan in the bot lane still pushing the rest of the team in the mid lane.
Yeah, Huhi has become a monster on Rise right now. He has 6-item Rise actually with the Guardian Angels, so he has become very tanky, and all the while they were winning that fight, Darshan was bullying in Seraph because he is not going to be able to match a late-game Trundle in a split push opportunity. So even with the Baron, it might not be enough. CLG is looking to push in and win.
Yeah, the champion that Seraph wanted to play here now going to re-Zonya's over a trap, take a headshot for 600 damage, take another one and lose a lot of his health bar. but it's okay so far. Ninja kiting backwards. One of the turrets will be dropping down, but Lambs' Bite forced to be used. CLG Gaming a bit injured here. They might have to give a bit more deference, and here comes a flash in for who he wants on the Ninja, but Seraph in the back line is going to pick up 2. The bot lane is dead. CLG have lost 2 of their members. Now Smithy in a battle with Proxima. Proxima wins the jungle battle, and it's going to be Huhi and Darshan left alive 2 versus 4 right now, and they're going to get hit up right there. A lot of damage coming out of Ninja. Pops the Guardian Angel. They're going to try to kite back on this one. Ninja is injured. The stun's going to land. Lod puts the damage through, and Darshan now the only one left alive. Thankfully for CLG, there are no neutral objectives left to go for, but there could be plenty of minions and maybe turrets to kill.
Yeah, definitely an overstay from CLG, and looks like Darshan will be able to escape it, but still 4 kills for 1, despite a nice exhaust on Seraph's engage right there. Yeah, when CLG burned that Kindred ultimate just to continue to stay on the turret, it kind of signaled that Envy would be able to turn something around. So game saver right here, we'll get to see it again. Take a lot of damage from those Nexus turrets. Also a respawn on Zyra. Still 13 seconds until Lod, but Hakuo lands a root onto both Stixxay and Xmithie, which delays their ability to be damaged. And then Seraph goes all in. Flash W, then the exhaust hits, so they still get the CC on Stixxay, and because Proxin could join in, they're able to burst him. And then at this point, they're just kiting around on Huhi and Darshan so well, and Huhi is still alive with Guardian Angel, but there's just too much to push him back down. Even with the Guardian Angel, he's not a full tank, so it doesn't res him with that much health.
Darshan actually didn't have to die. He was completely safe to leave the base earlier. He just wanted to wait around and hope he could save Huhi and make the turnaround. Lost his flash for it. Still got away, so not the worst in the world. But we have Envy now sitting here with, once again, an actual gold lead for themselves. They have 3 death caps on their roster. Just lined up beautifully. It's kind of nice to look at it.
And really, this just kind of says to CLG, why don't you have as much magic use as possible? And they kind of do now. Huhi sold this Guardian Angel, picked up a Banshee's Veil. They have 3 copies of Mercury Treads. They have a Mercurial Scimitar and a Hex Drinker on the Stixxay. So, like, they're really primed to try and deal with the super AP team that Envy has put together.
Yep.
Very rarely do you have, like, a full AP threat of the jungle, like, unless you're Italy. And then also as a support with Leandri's voice Aqua. So, like, there's 4 mages on the team right now.
Heck, it's 4.5. Ezreal's usually, like, at least 60-40, often more times towards magic. 60 being magic physical.
Because of the...
His ult does a lot, like more than you would expect.
W and the E are all magic damage.
Yeah, everything but the Q and the autos, and they're mostly multi-target, so it's surprising how much magic damage Ezreal actually does deal. But this time it'll maybe be lower because of all the MR bot. We'll see what the post-game is. I'll keep you all informed. But Proxin in a bit of a bad way. Pillar came off. He's trying to run away, pouncing out, but he's got no flash available. That's going to be him taken out. 2 versus 1 on the wrong side of the map, and that means power play for CLG Gaming for a full minute.
Yeah, and Elder Drake would be up in 10 seconds, but I don't even think that's on top of CLG's priority list. They have an exposed inhibitor in the bottom lane, a dead inhibitor in the mid lane, and because of the numbers advantage, they're looking to push in this one. So look for a desperation play by Envy. They'd have to be really creative and get even a little bit lucky to be able to stop this push.
CLG playing a 2-2-1, so any of these lanes could be jumping at Stixxay. There's the combo coming through. CLG not respecting the flank, and it's an AD carry missing for a jungler missing. That's actually probably good for Envy here, but the top lane turret is dead. That's Xmithie catching it up, but there's Lot. He gets the slow with Iceborne Gauntlet. However, Huhi and Aphromoo have pulled into the bottom lane. It's going to be another inhibitor taken down, so yes, they went 1 for 1 in kills, but a turret and an inhib were taken out, and CLG can retreat.
And I still think that's a nice play for Seraph to make the best of a bad situation. Proxin had got caught out. They were already down an inhibitor. They were facing a 5v4. And then to be able to at least not lose all 3 of your inhibitors and not lose the game is a win.
Yeah.
Waiting in the pink ward coverage of their own jungle before getting that flank off was very smart. It's most likely going to lead to the Elder Drake going down, but it's not a disastrous Elder Drake. CLG only has 1 Ocean Drake currently, so the true damage burn won't be too crazy. And Darshan looks like he's dead.
They might not even have everyone to use it, of course. Darshan taking plenty of punishment. Stixxay still dead for 6 seconds, and Darshan trying to kite back and forth, but he's cut down by the healing reduction. He will get dropped off. And
they're fighting over it!
Back. Oh no, Afro, Smithy, and Huhi looking to do what they can. Sarah pops the zonies, but he could be dropped down, and yes, he is killed off. And now Huhi wants to flash back in towards Ninja. Can't get the kill just yet. A stun coming across, won't land it, but the Ezreal not doing much of anything.
And you do not mess around with Elder Drake. That thing is so hard to kill at this point in the game. So CLG, without having Darshan there, I don't know why he was still up in the top lane, can't kill it that quickly. Stixxay also, by the end of that, was in the base, so no focus to get the Elder Drake down, and the harassment is very successful by Envy.
And now Envy run up to Baron Nashor healing up thanks to the Ocean, getting there a little bit faster thanks to the clouds, and they're pushing this one down as fast as they can. CLG have lost a member, of course. It's still Darshan dead. He's going to teleport, but
he's going to try and wreck.
Go. He can't land the smite. That was well done, and it's going to be hit popping. That is him gone. So Envy will have 30 seconds once Seraph's back up without Huhi on the map to make this play. Stixxay forced to run, gets away from it reasonably well, but Envy have another Baron, and their inhibitors are coming back up.
And Seraph will be able to teleport to assist this Elder Drake attempt if they really want to.
I think they can.
This could very well be the Elder Drake plus Baron dream for Envy, where they can get the empowered recalls and go back, but CLG, they don't want to make this one easy. Smithy has ultimate.
4 versus 4.
He doesn't have ultimate. It's in 5 seconds.
4. Ninja is not here. The wall comes off. Smithy wants in for the smite, gets chased out of over the wall. He's got flash to go back in. Oh, it resets. Oh, you've got to be kidding. And they auto attack it down. Smithy steals away the Elder Dragon.
One steal deserves another. That
and
reset.
Now the flash pillar.
Goodness.
They want Ninja. Bit of damage out of Smithy. They pop him into the egg. Darshan is invincible, and Hakuho goes down. The knockup means nothing. And there's the snipes coming down. A double kill for Smithy. And this could suddenly be the game. The pillar won't quite knock off Law, but he's forced to run away rapidly, losing a ton of health there. Envy missing 2, CLG all alive.
I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
You can only reset the attack timer on the Elder Drake so many times before it will start healing up. And there was the added mind game that I don't think Croxon knew that Xmithy's ultimate was down. So he was expecting Xmithy to jump in, throw down the Kieran ultimate, and mess with the smites anyway. So there was so many layers of mind gaming to happen there before it actually ended up resetting. And now, looks like CLG's got the win.
They're going to try for this one right now, but in goes Seraph looking for damage, but Xmithy is able to pop the ulti. They can focus the turret down. They will knock it out, and Seraph is going to drop, lose his life. Now it's on to Law, trying to win a 1 versus 4, but he can't get enough done. Darshan pushes him out, and it's going to be Stixxay onto the Nexus. It's going to be game 1 going to Counter Logic Gaming. We will have more, but in a hard-fought victory, they are moving up the standings a little bit.
Boy, what a way to start out the series with Counter Logic Gaming taking this game. They were down significantly in the mid game, but they fought back in a big way, and then it looked like Envy was going to take it again.
Yeah.
But you got a Baron steal for Hakuho, an Elder Drake steal